PCR 開発者キャリー・マリスというこちらの方の話、PCR 検査を開発したキャリー・マリスという人は昨年2019年8月に亡くなったそうです、このキャリー・マリスはエイズが話題になった時期にエイズは候補の原理を満たしておらず、自分が発明した PCR 検査が世界にデマを流すための道具にされているのではないかと疑ったそうです。現在新型コロナが広がっている根拠として PCR 検査が世界中で使われていますが、開発者であるキャリー・マリスが亡くなったのが昨年の8月という新型コロナが広がる直前というのも何か怪しい気がします。もし彼が生きていたら現在の状況を否定されると考えた人でもいたのではないかなんて疑ってしまいます。先生はどう思われますか？
キャリー・マリスとしてはものすごい変人で、だけどそういうノーベル賞をもらうような方法を発明する人ってのはまず変人でいいんですよね。でこの人は同時にエイズウイルスはいないっていう人なんですよ。でこれね、エイズウイルスがいないっていう人は世界でだって120人ぐらいいたんです、学者はですね。もともと日本人は素直ですから、エイズウイルスはいないなんて誰も思ってないですよ。だけどもそれは日本人特有のその大衆、みんながそうなら俺もそうっていうのがそれなんで、エイズウイルスの存在ってかなり学問的に怪しいんです。それでエイズウイルスがないというのがあるんですね。でその学会をヨーロッパでやろうとしたんですよ。ただね、そこに行く100人ぐらいが乗ったエイズウイルスは否定してた人が乗った飛行機が落ちたんですよ。全部死にました。それでその研究会学会は中止になりました。でね、そういうのを全部含んでるんですこれ。要するにですね、世界っていうのはそのくらいのことしますからね。
Here's what the scientists that are publishing articles saying they isolated a virus are doing. So they start with the same sample, the lung fluid, but what they do first is they just take the whole thing. They don't filter it or purify it in any way, but they add some enzymes that dissolve the membrane, so it releases all the genetic material that may be inside of cells or particles into the free solution. And then they do is put in some PCR probes, which will amplify various pieces of genetic material. And they can then sequence that genetic material and characterize it in many ways. But this has nothing to do with Rivers' criteria. As I said before, there was nothing mentioned about genetic material. So if you look at the other pathway that they do is they take that fluid, they may or may not filter it. Some of the methods are not described in very much detail, so they leave out this step. It's hard to tell if they've done it or not. And then they mix this body fluid with non-host cells. So they often buy commercially prepared mammalian cell cultures, like a very common one are Vero cells, which are monkey kidney cells. So they basically mix this with some kind of cell culture, and often they add antibiotics, almost in every case that I've seen where there's detailed methods written up. And this is really important because the antibiotics actually induce exosomes. And if you've seen my previous talk, or if you haven't, please take a look at it. You'll see that exosomes are particles secreted by our own cells, and they help us heal from disease and communicate with each other inside our body, allow different cells to communicate. And all mammalian cells make exosomes, and various things cause the cells to make more exosomes, or induction of exosomes, and one of those is antibiotics. And there are several papers that describe this. It's very well known. So they're basically mixing this bodily fluid with a mixture of cells and antibiotics that's making exosomes. And then what they do is they may or may not purify the particles out of that mixture. They often just keep them mixed with the cells and then look at them under the microscope, and occasionally they purify them. But there is no way to tell if the particles that they have identified after this procedure are from this tissue culture with antibiotics, or if they are from this lung fluid. And since they set up a procedure that always results in exosome induction, there are going to be particles that are exosomes in there for sure that look just like viral particles. So I think this is where the major confusion comes to play.